Selma?
That's a little fan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call our August 22nd council meeting to order. Can we please have Councilmember Lemons lead us in the flag salute?
Please place your hand over your heart and join me in renewing your pledge to our country's flag.
Thank you, everyone. Heidi, can we please do roll call?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Lemons.
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos.
Here.
Councilmember Quer Stallings.
Present.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo.
Present.
Mayor Aguayo.
Here. And before we go into our business, there actually is a short video presentation of our 2023 Heritage Festival and our Backpack School event. Thank you. And to anybody that might have missed those events, they really, really were just awesome events for our community. And it was great to see, just so many people supporting our residents and our kids.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
I'm on, right?
Yes.
So I was just watching the Spectrum Community Channel in the back. Are these videos submitted for that? These things?
As we ramp up our efforts on that part of the program of our communication strategy, they will be. So starting very soon, we'll be putting all these videos on our rotation on the new Spectrum, on our old Spectrum channel.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't get them, but I was watching the channel back there and I really enjoyed it. But it was the same content over and over, and this was new, so that's why I was wondering if we put the new stuff in there.
Yeah, part of our efforts this year as part of the goal setting session earlier this year was to ramp up our content creation leading up to things like this so we can publish them on our television channel.
Both excellent videos and both excellent events.
Okay.
What I'd like to say is, what a happy community we have. That's it.
Okay. So is there any city council public comment updates?
No updates from the last meeting, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Any public comments for today?
We do, Madam Mayor. We have four, two of which one for sure is on the North Paramount Gateway item, which is number 6, and one I believe is also related to that. But I just need to confirm on that one, Mr. Ruben Soto. He needs a Spanish translator, Mr. Ruben Soto. Madam Mayor, if you can verify for me with him that he wants to speak on the North Paramount Gateway.
Señor Soto, queremos confirmar que usted su comentario es para el número 6, específicamente hablando del plan al norte de la Paramount.
Yeah, okay, so it is. Okay, sir. So we'll call him up when that item comes up. But we do have two speakers cards, Madam Mayor, that are under general public comments. Our first one is from Ms. Linda Luvano from Garfield Avenue. She'd like to discuss rent control.
Okay.
Ms. Luvana?
And actually, before we continue, Señor Soto, si no entienden español, hay audífonos atrás. Okay, just I want to make sure that way there, everybody can understand. So yeah, but if there's an issue, we do have headphones in the back for you. Okay, the public speaker again, John?
Yeah, Ms. Linda Luvano? Linda Luvano? Yep, yeah. And Madam Mayor, I believe you were speaking at Mr. Soto, you were offering the headphones for
Yes.
him.
Sí, Señor Soto, ¿necesita audífonos? You understand? Okay, that's fine.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. I live in a mobile home park, and as most of us know, every year the rent goes up a percentage. And when they came around to the park, they were asking people who would be interested in maybe you can do something about that. We have a lot of people that need help. So, is there a solution? Can you find a solution?
You're gonna ask.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, which mobile home park do you live in?
The one on Garfield,
The name?
next to the elementary school.
Is that the Cherryfield, ma'am?
Excuse me?
Is that the Cherryfield Mobile Home Park? Cherryfield?
No, it's a Paramount mobile home park.
Yeah, there's a Paramount Mobile Home Park in the Cherry.
Oh, right.
Right off of Colorado,
Yeah.
Jackson and
Garfield.
Garfield.
Mhm.
Okay.
Get it?
I
Go ahead.
want to address it now. Oh, I would just say that we're looking into all the options right now. We're working with a specific mobile home park that has some immediate issues, and we're working on that, and we're also looking at other avenues. So we're in the process right now of investigating. There's a lot of information to gather for us to move forward.
So you'll be getting back to us?
I'm sure that in some way, if some decision is made, it'll be announced at least a council meeting. I can't give you a date at this point in time because, as I said, every time we get one piece of information, that brings up a new question, and we're consulting with attorneys, we're consulting with other cities, we're looking at different ordinances. So
You know, it's, I don't know, basically, or more or less, when I moved in, one of my neighbors was talking to somebody that also lives in a mobile home park, but in another city. And they were talking about the rent going up yearly. And the guy told him, the one from the other park, told him that it was against the law to raise the rent on seniors. And supposedly it's supposed to be a senior mobile home park. That's when I signed in, you know, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I haven't heard anything like that in our, you know, investigation so far. It's just, it seems like it comes down to individual contracts with the individual mobile home parks and what like certain residents sign for a 5-year agreement, a 2-year agreement, a 1-year agreement. Some have 10-year agreements. So it's more with them because it's not regulated by the rent control processes that the state put through, the government put through. Mobile home parks aren't regulated by that. So they're regulated by the agreement between you and your owner.
Oh.
And
So
just,
how come they went to the mobile home park?
well, and just,
The people that take in the survey.
so just so you're aware, because we are trying to explore different options, and we are speaking to other cities because I know that in the past there has been, you know, comments that, you know, other cities have done this, but what works for other cities doesn't necessarily mean it'll work in Paramount. And in some cities it's taken 8 months, others it's taken 13 months. It varies. So we want to make sure that we have the best possible for our residents. So it's not something that we're taking lightly. So we are looking into it. Anything anybody else would like?
I'm just curious too. I'm looking at stuff. I don't think the city went out and did a survey, but you know what? Maybe we can offer her the educational resources about when your rent goes up, what to do through fair housing. Maybe if somebody can provide that way, those are the best people to go to ask questions to ensure that your owners are following the right process. That's what you need to know as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, Madam Mayor, is also from 16511 South Garfield, Edna Striegel.
Good afternoon or good evening. I have a problem also, the same with the lady out there, because last time we have increase in rent of $25 a year. Now they send us a letter that has $77.73 a month. And if you are a fixed income, we are retired already, so how can we,
I misunderstood. Did you say that it went from 25 to 77?
Yes, yes.
So your
Monthly.
So your raise last time you got a rent increase was $25?
Yes.
And this time you got a rent increase.
It's 77 next month.
$77. So
Yes.
that's the increase amount.
Yes.
Okay. And you're also from Paramount Park?
Yeah, 16511. And I want to take your attention also. I was shocked last week. I went to pay my mobile home phone. I paid cash. I usually do because I just drive like 2 blocks, 3 blocks. They charged me $5 for paying in their store. That's why I was shocked. What for?
Are you talking about your VLF fees, your vehicle license fees for your mobile?
No. It's about the mobile phone here at Paramount. They charge
I don't understand. Does anybody get it?
the mobile phone, cell phone bill just to pay in the store. They said
pay
that
your phone bill in the store.
yes, because I don't want to pay credit card or by ATM because I experienced that somebody stole money in the bank. So I don't trust anymore the online
I see.
paying. And they charged me $5 just to pay in the store.
Did you ask about other payment
Yeah,
options?
they said, I Googled it and they said that, they said in the company that they charge you $5 because they were disturbed by just attending to you.
Yeah.
But there's no people inside. So I don't know, it's a weird country now.
Yeah, it sounds like a store policy. Yeah.
They just changed it. They just started it last week. So why like that? they punish you for paying cash on the store or by paying in the store. That's ridiculous. You know, that's all I can say.
Madam Mayor, can I say something? I'm going to send this over to the staff to you guys. So this is like the second person that's come up. So can we find out if someone's out there doing a survey that's maybe saying that they're on behalf of the city or trying to gather information?
Were you
I'm a
asked
little
to
concerned.
complete? Were you asked to complete a survey, ma'am? Were you asked to complete a survey?
Complete a survey for,
Yeah.
for
I don't see.
No, the first person said, so she's the second person that's coming up to speak, not that a survey, but they're in the same mobile home park. So I'm just want to ensure that someone's not out there
Oh, I
that's
see.
in
that
surveys
there's-
saying that they're part of
That
the
they're part of the
city.
city.
Oh, I see. Is somebody
okay.
in your mobile home park?
I think it was the
Yes.
first speaker that also mentioned that something about a survey.
Survey.
yes.
Has somebody been going door to door in your
Yes,
mobile home
yes.
park conducting a survey? Did they say they're with the city of Paramount, or did they identify who they're with?
It's a MSH action kind of.
Oh, that's
Housing.
that's a nonprofit group that
Yeah.
there was a representative that was here a couple of meetings ago.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
They're not identifying.
Because we
themselves
don't know also where we're gonna go to complain because they keep, increasing our rent and stuff like that, and your fixed income and it's supposed to be a senior citizen place. So how can you survive? So that's all, my honors, your honors.
Mayor, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. At a previous meeting, you may recall during public comment, there was a group of residents who were expressing interest in rent control at the time. They had a representative from MH Action who was here, and they confirmed verbally during public comment they were going around trying to rally support for rent control. I suspect this is just an extension of those efforts.
Ms. Driegel, can we get a copy of that? If you could provide it to a staff member there, right here, and then. No, just the rent increase. So he'll make a copy and bring it right back to you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Madam Mayor, I would like to, can I say a comment?
And that's it on public comments, Madam Mayor.
Can I say a comment? John, I know that there are certain phone companies that you do go in and they do charge you a service charge, ma'am, for you paying in person. But you can call your telephone company, T-Mobile, and tell them that you're on a fixed income, and they will be more than happy to help you. I mean, I've heard of other seniors having this situation, and they call their mobile home, T-Mobile, and ask them and told them that there's a certain situation, like you said, you've used your ATM and someone took advantage and used your card. So you can explain all that to them and tell them that's why you physically go into the store to pay your payment. But explain to them, call that 1-800 number that's on your phone bill. That's what I suggest.
But I complained inside the store and they did tell me that you have to call the company, so I did not.
Yeah, so call the company, and I hope they help you.
Yeah, the phone number should be
resolution
right
number.
on your bill because
Yes.
the clerks usually in the store don't have any authority to waive anything. But when you call the corporate office, which the number will be on your bill, they have the authority.
Okay. Is there any other public comments, Joe?
No, Madam Mayor, that's it.
Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos.
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo.
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo.
Yes. Okay, and now we are going to revisit or report on accessory dwelling unit, the ordinance and resource project.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This first presentation is a follow-up to a previous discussion we had here at the last council meeting regarding our proposed ordinance governing accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. As you recall, the presentation addresses this presentation. You wanted to address the last remaining question that you had, which was the height limits for two-story ADUs. Quite frankly, this is a very complex matter, so the council requested that we come back with visuals that could provide more of a better understanding of what we could expect if we go with certain height limits on ADUs. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Assistant Director, Mr. John King, who will walk you through the item. John?
Thank you, John, and thank you, Mayor Aguayo and council members. So we're back to ADUs, and this is the third time in the last few meetings, and we're down to one issue, the height of ADUs for newly constructed ADUs. So we're going to set aside garage conversions. This is just about ADUs constructed from the ground up. And as you know, there are a number of different ADU types. Here's just a quick overview graphically, and got to credit AARP. So turns out AARP is a big advocate for ADUs these days. So, and again, we're focusing on detached and attached ADUs built from the ground up. So you could either build one a little separate from the house or right next to the house, with a wall separating the two. ADUs, accessory dwelling units. So as far as two-story ADUs, and this is just about the same slide that you saw the last meeting, the current Paramount ADU ordinance limits ADUs to one story, in effect, 16 feet. 16 feet is not enough to have a second floor. And that followed state law. State allowed cities up until December 31st of last year to limit ADUs to 16 feet. So that's kind of the easy one. We'll get that out of the way. We have to change that to allow two-story ADUs. And here you have balancing act here. Two situations for attached ADUs and detached. So attached, and no matter where you are, if it's a one house by itself, if it's a apartment complex, if it's a duplex, we, the city, the planning department, has to approve, if all of the other requirements are met, an attached ADU that's 2 stories up to 25 feet in height. 25 feet in height.
John, before you go on,
Yes.
so I can get clarification, when you use the terminology 2-story ADU, you're not talking necessarily about the actual ADU being 2 stories, but the ADU being a second story on an existing thing, or you're talking about the ADU being 2 stories?
The ADU by itself.
Okay, so you could put an ADU, let's say, on top of the garage, or and then you could make that ADU 2 stories.
The total height of the garage and the home to 25 feet, which is, say, you could have a garage on the bottom, ADU on the top, as long as it's no more than 25 feet.
So bottom line is, if you're putting it on top of something, you're saying it's a max of the 25 feet?
That's right.
And so that's what you're saying, that if the ADU that they wanted to add on top of the garage, they want to turn into a 2-story ADU, there's not enough height for a 2-story, because the ADU can be 2 stories on top of a 1-story existing building.
Total 2 stories. So there's kind of infinite configurations, but you could have a 1-story, say you have a bedroom on the first floor, a bedroom on the second floor, 2 stories. You could have a garage on the first floor with a little entryway that goes straight up the stairs to the entire living area on the second floor. That's another way to do it. But in all these different options, no more than 25 feet. No more than 25 feet if it's attached to whatever house.
The simple answer is an ADU can be 2 stories. It doesn't have to be a single-story unit.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. As long as it's attached to the whatever house is there.
Got it. Okay.
So there's that one. We're going to have lots of other graphics to show. Yeah, to answer one question,
I just
we
want to
want to be
understand the
complete.
verbiage as we go through it.
Absolutely. And again, as before, stop me anytime. Stop me anytime. We could discuss this deeply. And as far as detached, and here's where the changes big change from January 1st. For detached, if in two situations, two requirements, if the front home is a duplex or more, if it's attached housing of some form, whether it's 10 units, 6 units, or down to a duplex, and if there's a second floor, if it's 2 floors or higher, we have to approve, if all of the requirements are met, a detached ADU up to 18 feet in height. 18 feet in height. So those are the 2 things that we have to do, and then we're going to get into the option a little later on. And here's some kind of graphics. And I know it's a little wordy on the left side, but just want to get you, first of all, what's the state saying, just exactly from state law, and all 3 of these. Number 1, and this is already on our books, and continues, a height of 16 feet for a detached ADU on a lot with an existing or proposed single-family or multifamily dwelling unit. All it's saying is any home at all can have a detached ADU up to 16 feet. And that's a one-story. And that's what we're seeing by and large. It's very expensive to build a two-story ADU. So in practical terms, we're mostly seeing one story. So that continues. Now, 2 and 3 is what's new. This is where our code is non-compliant. We have to change the code to meet these two. Number 2 is when a ADU is attached. You can go up to 25 feet in height, which is a two-story ADU, if it's attached to a home. Even if it's a single-family home, if it's a one-story single-family home, if it's a two-story single-family home, if it's an apartment complex, as long as it's attached up to 25 feet in height. The number 3 is the detached one, detached scenario. So if there's a duplex that's at least 2 stories, we have to approve an ADU that's 18 feet in height. It's kind of a squat looking ADU at 18 feet, but it's possible. It's very possible to build a 2-story 18-foot ADU.
Question?
Yes.
On that slide, where it says 25 feet or the height limitation of the local zoning ordinance that applies to the primary dwelling, is ours right now 25 feet?
It is, which has been on the books since probably 1962 when we got our zoning ordinance, yes.
Okay.
And this is another slide very similar to what you saw before, getting to the heart of the matter, the question. So going back to let me just briefly go back to the graphic. The third option, should that 18-foot that rise up, should we allow property owners who want to have the means to go up to 25 feet tall for those scenarios? And there's pros and cons. And as you know, the planning department is neutral on this. It's just a decision to make. We kind of wrote out here, the pros is it allows those who want those 25 foot high ADUs to have a little more headspace to go with what the market is saying, what folks kind of want. They want a little more room, more to, I don't know, to feel a certain way. It's just a feeling, really. A little less cramped. The con, of course, it's a little higher. There may be more shadows upon neighboring properties, slightly more. They could appear to be less private. ADUs can be built, as you remember, up to 4 feet from a property line. So if it they may seem a little slightly more imposing at 25 feet if you're the next door neighbor. So something to think about. Or maybe you have solar panels and now there's a taller ADU. Maybe it's possible that taller ADU could block the sunlight to get to your solar panels that you invested in. So probably not in every situation, but it could happen. So now we'll kind of zoom in on these graphics. So we'll go from attached ADUs to detached. So as far as attached, here is what we commonly see when we see applications, and here's what our code is now, but our code is non-compliant. This has to be changed. So we are approving and seeing ADUs up to 16 feet in height attached. Now we have to approve 25 feet. So that has to change to this. So now they would go up to, we would have to allow 25-foot high ADUs that are attached. And we have seen a couple of these applications since January, and the planning department although the code hasn't caught up yet to state law, as you know, we have to comply with state law. If we ever get audited, until we pass the ordinance, we're already doing this de facto. So that's how it is with attached. And I wanted to put those kind of side by side, so going from 1-story to 2-story. So on the left is the current code as written in the code, and on the right is the state mandated change that we're going to have to do. And moving on to detached ADUs. And again, starting off with how it is now, and kind of universally, whatever the house is, the main house, if the main house is a single family house, if it's multifamily, wherever, you can build a detached ADU up to 16 feet. But change that to a duplex, and here's how it is with a single house, and we're just just imagine this is a duplex, suite A and suite B in the same building, or unit B or home B, A and home B. Once you have that A and B, and you have a 2 stories, just imagine this graphic is 2 stories, then this would have to be changed to this, to go up to 18 feet in height. So if you have, again, a duplex or more, so attached housing, and see the number, so the 2 requirements, attached housing on the property. Number 2, attached housing is 2 stories or more. We have to allow a 2-story ADU up to 18 feet in height. So in this graphic, the main house is 25 feet, but if we go by state law, the detached ADU would be no more than 18 feet. I want to point out the roof line, the slope. So it might be just a very slight difference to the eye, but the slope is slightly different from each of them. The main house has a different pitch. Roof pitch is the slope. So one is like one slope, the other kind of edges out a little more. So
Aren't all the ADUs at 18 feet now? There's nothing shorter than that, right? So must allow, if the ADU's allowed, why they're 18 feet anyway. That's a no change thing, really, right?
Well, you're right as far as the law, but when somebody comes in, set aside ADUs. If someone wants to build a new 2-story home, if they're whatever zone there is, or they have enough space on their property, they want to build not an ADU but a main house that's 2 stories. Those are typically 25 feet these days. The last 10, 20 years. So the newer homes that you've seen across from the post office, behind Home Depot, and just here and there throughout Paramount, some smaller developments, Arthur Avenue, they are typically, if not 25 feet, just 23 and a half feet, just up to 25 feet. So
I'm sorry, what you may have to explain to me, I guess the piece of the puzzle that I'm missing is 18 feet detached ADUs must be allowed as of 2023. So this is on the detached.
That's
Okay.
that's detached,
So
right?
what was allowed before that then?
No more than 16 feet,
So it was 16 feet
right?
were our ADU heights before. So this is saying that you have to allow them to be at least 18.
With the 18 feet, that allows, in practical terms, a 2nd story. 16 feet is just no way unless you go subterranean a little bit. You dig a little deeper.
I didn't realize the other was 16. I thought we were at 18 already. Okay,
Now
makes sense.
Yeah, so 18. So the question before you is, as an option, so that's what we have to do.
Right.
So the option is, should we allow the detached ADUs to go up to 25 feet just to match that house in the front, well, assuming it's the front, and it might be a little hard to tell, but the roof matches, so there's more consistency between the slopes of the main house and the ADU. So I'll kind of go back to the previous, it's a different slope, and this more or less matches. So you get a little more consistency. HCD says we're not supposed to use the word consistency or compatibility, but yeah, if you allow up to 25 feet, it allows designers to do that matching, to make it matchy. So, and here they are all together. So as it is now, 16 feet, the 1-story, 18 feet is the middle, what we have to do. And the question before you is, should we allow up to 25 feet to match the main house? When there's a duplex at least, and when the main house is 2 stories at least. So now back to that original chart. Now we have added, you can look on the left, 1, 2, 3, there's 3A and 3B. 3A is what's required, what we have to do. 3B is just a choice to make if you'd like. It's your privilege to extend up to 25 feet. Could go higher, but why would you? So we're just being logical. If you'd like to do 25 feet, we do want to give you an example. So this is out in the real world. This is Marcel Street, and over on Marcel, let's just say that this house. Well, there's a home that was there for many years, and the owners recently decided to add to it to go 2 stories and make it. It might be the nicest house on the block. That's an opinion, but we wanted to bring you a nicer, a recent addition. This home, let's just say it's a duplex, is 25. It's just short. It's really just short of 25 feet, but it's more or less 25 feet in height. If you look on the picture to the right, and I forgot I have the mouse. If you look on the picture to the right, here's the main house. Behind that, this is actually an ADU. That's a real ADU in the back. They did work, the family worked on the addition, fixing up the home, and then they decided to build up this two-story ADU in the back. And that ADU in the back is the same height of the building in the front. It's just sort of 25 feet. It looks like from the street, just the eye at eye level, kind of going by in the public street, it appears to be lower. You can't really distinguish. It doesn't protrude. It's just kind of tucked back there. And if you go by just the straight view from the street, you don't even see it. It's just kind of, it's just behind there. It's disguised behind the main house. And that's kind of the point of ADUs until the state changed the law recently. So this is the request for direction. The height for detached ADUs on multifamily properties with multi-story main homes. So that the state's requiring cities to allow them up to 18 feet. So the question is, should we allow them up to 25 feet? So with your direction, and we could pause here. You could discuss this, but once you decide, then we'll finish up on our ordinance, and we're looking at actually October to get an ordinance to the Planning Commission based on your feedback, this and your other feedback, and bring an ordinance to you in November based on the Planning Commission's recommendation, and introduce the ordinance, bring it back for the second reading to adopt it. It takes effect 30 days later. We're going to send the ordinance to HCD. That's by law. Whenever you adopt an ordinance with regard to ADUs, you send it up to the state, make sure they're okay, and continue building on those ADU resources that we talked about, workshops and whatnot. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, John. So the question really here is, I mean, we have to do the 18 feet regardless. So the question is, do we just go with the 18, or do we go with the 25 feet?
I have a couple more questions
Okay.
on that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So a standard two-story house is 25 feet, right? Okay.
In recent years, yes.
Okay, because I'm sorry, but unless everything's like right here in front of me where I can kind of go back and
Yeah.
forth. So on the stuff that we're considering, is there a case in which, my other part of that question is there a difference in the standard height of a house if it's a pitched roof or a flat roof?
Yes. So the advantage of having a pitched roof, it does make it taller. More of a pitch, you get more attic space. I think that's kind of the convenience that some people like, is that attic space. Typical slope is, well, 4 and 12. That's the direction, one direction up, 4 and 12. But if you have a more or less flat roof, you don't have that attic space. You have more drainage problems. You have a minimal slope. But yes, the height does come down.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering what that is, because I know of at least 2 neighborhoods where there's a lot of flat roofs. There is no pitch. So what is that height standardly? I mean, is there a standard flat roof height? Because 2 stories, 25 feet. A single house is what then, 12 or 18 probably, right?
No, it's more like 11 or 12.
It's like 12 feet for a standard house, 25 feet for a 2-story, and what's a flat roof?
Flat roof. Well, depends, 1 story or 2 story, and I assume you're talking about 1 story, like a mission style, or
both.
Yeah. So I'd say closer to 10 feet.
10 feet.
Closer to 10 feet.
And then 25 again, probably, if they put an addition on top of it.
If you put addition on, no, it depends. If they intend to keep that look, I don't know, Santa Fe style, kind of flattish roof, that would be less than 25 feet. I don't see them going any higher than that.
Where I'm going on this, and so you'll help understand my question maybe better, is I'm going with the 25 feet because it seems like you have the best options for design and matching the look, okay? But I'm wondering in a case, and that's why I said I'd have to go back to the options that you had there for the 2-story ADUs. Is there any scenario in which a 25-foot 2-story could be built next to a flat roof single story? So a 10 feet and 25 feet. So now you have a 15-foot difference between the two.
Yes, you know, a city like Irvine or Santa Barbara, they're very regimented on the home style, and yeah, but we don't have that in Paramount. You'll find more flexibility that more.
No, we do have flat roofs, so that's what I'm asking.
We do,
With
but
the
not
proposals, how does that work?
What you're saying, I think you used the word flexibility. That is a good word because here in this city, there is the freedom for property owners to design different types, different styles of homes that in the end would end up with different heights. I think what you said before about you're considering 25 feet because that allows different types of homes. That is actually accurate. By having that bigger envelope, you're giving more opportunity for property owners to design as
All
they
I
wish.
want to know is if you can peel that back. So let's say we vote for 25 feet, but you come into a situation where they're going to build a 2-story ADU. We have the 25-foot ordinance, but they have a flat roof. Can you peel back and then say, well, there's a max of 25 feet, but because you're a flat roof, you can only go 18? Am I?
Oh,
Up to.
you know, that's
It's like up to 25, so they could peel back.
a good point. I would say
I just want the design flexibility because one's a 15-foot difference
One's a flat.
and the other's a possible 6. That's a big design visual
Difference.
look, but I can't recall all the options there.
right. That's a really good point. And I would say that wouldn't fit into the ordinance we're working on this evening or now. Next year, you budgeted for what's called objective design standards, and it's not very common. More and more cities are doing them, so you're kind of ahead of the pack. Whittier just passed theirs about a month ago. That's when you get into different styles, like a flat roof, like you're talking about. That's more of an objective design standard that would we would end up after the work, community workshops, getting input, bring it back to you, planning commission.
If you approve this, if we approved 25 feet and somebody came in tomorrow with a single-story flat roof and wanted to build a 25-foot ADU, and if we approve this, don't we have to allow it?
If it's 20, you wouldn't see it.
Because we're
You would
looking
not
at
see
18
a.
to 25.
You wouldn't see a 1-story 25-foot home.
No,
She's talking about
2-story.
Two-story.
Oh, you say 2-story? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
House
yeah,
in the front
2-story.
is flat. They want to build an ADU in the back, correct?
Yes.
I'm asking if there are
Because it
any
looks like
ADU
this.
options, because I can't go to all of them.
Right.
Without going back and
Sure,
forth saying,
sure.
are any of those ADU options going to allow
You would-
a 2-story
Yes.
ADU
Yes.
right by an 8
Absolutely.
feet by a 10-foot flat roof?
Yeah, the answer would be yes.
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 And can we carve that out?
You could, but that would be complicated in a text-based ordinance. When we get into objective design standards, which is more of a
We can't write it
In the
to a
ordinance.
I think
maximum of
is-
25
Would be
feet?
it would be a legal
Cosmetic
question,
looks.
and then it would be also whether or not HCD would approve that. Those
Well,
are the
it's-
two
I
questions
think,
that we have to.
If I may.
So from
if I
legal,
may,
yeah.
Councilmember Lemon, you're bringing up actually a really, really good point.
Really good
because
point.
if you approve that 25-foot limit, you are boxed into that 25
Yeah.
foot, no matter what the architecture is, okay? And I'm hearing your concern is, hey, wait a minute, if we allow that maximum, because right now the law only allows the law requires 18 feet, okay? So within 18 foot, whether it's a slope roof or a flat roof, it's 18 feet. If you allow discretionary to 25 feet, you're allowing a curved roof or a flat roof up to 25 feet. And that's a question a concern that you have. So what I'm thinking is we can always change the code, okay? Right now, we have to just comply with the state law is
Right.
at 18 feet. Maybe to address your concern, we go with the required state law level. And then if you want to go higher, we can, but then we can build in some architectural limitations on how it would look like if you wanted to go higher.
And I'm good with that because that's what I'd like to see us covered as much as we can to handle design. But I don't, time-wise or whatever, I don't want to see a situation where a resident wants to build a 2-story and right now they're stuck with the 18 feet because that's what we approved. So how long would it take us to write the caveat in?
Well, and that's a good point, and I guess there is a possibility that what we do, because we got to submit this to HCD.
Right.
So if the council is interested in the 25-foot, okay, what we can do is we could submit that in, but with some architectural requirements of what that flat roof is going to look like, so that if HCD approves it at the 25 feet, we already have some architectural guidelines that maybe you are comfortable with. But that's, you know.
Do you know if we have any 2-story ADU requests in the works right now?
We do. We do. I brought up this image again. This is a pretty common style, just a slope roof with either shingle or tile. I don't think we've seen a 2-story ADU that has a slope other than this what you see before you.
As far as timing goes, though, John, you think we could probably get it done in time for the Planning Commission meeting in October?
I think so.
Yeah. We have a couple months to work here.
I think
with
we
it,
can.
a
I
month
think
or
we
so.
can address
Okay.
your concerns on that. But you know, I see the problem that you're pointing out, and you know, I'm a little more conservative, and I want to make sure that if you go at a higher level, there's some flexibility that addresses your concerns,
Right.
and you're not now saying, okay, we're committed to 25 feet, but we have no control over the architectural design over it.
So the next question would be, staff-wise, if we go this way, I don't even know what anybody else is thinking, but if we go this way and say, let's meet the state requirement and go to the 18 feet, and then let's bring back the 25 feet when we find out how we can word it, which
That's an
way is
option too,
best
yeah.
for you guys, like,
Well, it's
time-wise?
probably best just to do it all at once to try and get it in and get approval through HCD,
That's where I stand.
rather than just do the 18 and then come back a few months later after you guys approve that ordinance and try and adjust it. Let's just do it all at once. Is my thought.
And I would recommend that too.
Yeah.
The only caveat I have is that we want to make sure that, you know, we address those concerns so that once you do say, hey, we're going with 25 feet, you have that comfort that it's not going to be something that you're not expecting because now you're cemented into that decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't have a visual, but 15 feet is a big difference from 6 feet.
Yeah, I see. Yes, and I would go back to what I said earlier. These words, objective design standards. So this is kind of like what we're talking about here. If we're talking about doing an ordinance in the next couple of months, that's kind of phase one. To complete the whole package, we have to finish the objective design standards, which are
Yeah, we can do it in October.
Right. So I
What I'm
think
hearing.
it's
You know,
doable.
where we can work out this,
Councilmember.
what I see as a problem. Madam Mayor, please, you hold the rest and see where everybody's at.
Okay, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and start. Delight, Councilmember Quer Stallings.
I'm in agreement with Councilmember Lemons.
Okay, Vice
Same
Mayor.
here, I'm in agreement with Lemons.
18.
Okay.
Talk about
Well,
25.
they're saying don't do 18, wait and do it all at once. Is that what I heard?
18 with the idea that you could go up to 25 under certain special
Said
circumstances.
wait and handle it all at once. When I asked if that would be the better way to do it.
My impression was that you had two options: either do it all at once or adopt just the 18 feet and then come back later, say 6 months down the line, and then insert the 25 feet.
No, my question, just so we're clear, so you can answer
Yeah.
it, was, can we adopt the 18 feet now, and then you look at the 25 feet, and we see how that works and fix it, or should we wait and do it all at once? You said it'd be better to do it all at once.
Do it all at once, yeah, because you're not approving anything tonight.
Right.
Yeah. So what you're doing is just giving us the general direction. Now we'll go back and write it with the 18 feet with the option to go to 25.
Yes.
I don't think I'm still getting through, but if you
No,
guys are clear, I'm good.
Councilmember Lemons, if I'm hearing you, you would like to do all at once with the 25 feet, right?
I don't care. I care about, I want the design option, and I want it to be as expedient as possible for
Okay.
staff.
I think,
However that happens, I'm good with it. I just don't want to blanket 25 feet if we don't have to do it, considering we have some 10-foot high homes.
Sure.
right.
You got it.
We got that.
Okay.
I think you're saying you don't want to be the state. The state's constantly making changes. You want to do it in one shot. So that's what it is, and we're not.
I think I said what I want.
Yeah.
You said what you said, and what you want is what you want.
Good.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so we have direction.
Yeah, good direction.
So how should we word this motion to?
No
It's an
motion.
oral
just an oral
report.
report.
That's
Oh,
it.
I'm on the
Just
wrong
no- yeah.
page then.
Yes.
Yep. It's a roll report. Receive and file.
Yeah, I'm on the traffic thing, in my book, not in my head, but in the book. 3. Okay,
Thank you, John.
just an oral report.
Okay, moving on. We have another oral report, Community Service Organization update. You want to go ahead, John?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the next presentation continues with a tradition that, we started last year, and that is to hear from our local service clubs about what types of services they provide to the community. This time, it's the newly formed Paramount Kiwani's turn to come and tell the council about the good stuff they're doing. So with that, we'll ask Ms. Yesenia Cuarenta to come up and make a presentation, President of the Paramount Kiwanis.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Yesenia Cuarenta, and I'm one of the founding members of the Kiwanis Club of Paramount. I want to thank the city for allowing us to come and share more about our mission and vision. So the mission of the Kiwanis Club is we are a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time. And our vision is that we believe we will be a positive influence in communities worldwide, so that one day all children will wake up in communities that believe in them, nurture them, and provide the support they need to thrive. And our motto is serving the children of the world. Our objective is to give primary to the human and spiritual rather than the material value of life, to encourage the daily living of the golden rule in all human relationships, to promote the adoption and the application of higher social, business, and professional standards, to develop by precept and example a more intelligent, aggressive, and serviceable citizenship, to provide through Kiwani's Club a practical means to form enduring friendships, to render altruistic service, and to build better communities. And lastly, to cooperate in creating and maintaining that sound public opinion and high idealism, which makes possible the increase of righteousness, justice, patriotism, and goodwill. So our first year here in Paramount, this past summer of 2023, we sponsored more than 20 children in the community to receive swimming lessons. We also chartered the Kiwans Club at Paramount High School. So from the last report I received, we have over 20 scholars at Paramount High School who are part of our club. We participated in various community events, not just here in Paramount, but in Southgate and any other community that allows us to participate. We also hosted a community baby shower and a book walk. Some of our goals are to continue applying and receiving grants from either Supervisor Janice Hahn or any other organizations to charter a Kiwans Club at Odyssey STEM Academy. In fact, we already received that grant, and we're in the process of helping charter that club there at Odyssey STEM Academy. We also plan on applying for grants and fundraising to give scholarships and Kiwans the students that are Kiwans at Paramount High or Odyssey, to sponsor them so that they can receive scholarships, and we can sponsor a Kiwan sash so they can use it when they're graduating. And then we also wanted to invite the community. We meet the third Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. at Horchateria Río Luna. Nuestra junta es el tercer jueves de cada mes a las 5 de la tarde en la Horchateria Río Luna. Todos están invitados a acompañarnos. And if you ever want to contact us, our email address is kiwanasparamount@gmail.com. And we're also pretty active on Instagram. You can follow us, and we've updated fairly often. We post friendly reminders about our meetings. We also have newsletter that we publish once a month where we update our members and community members. If you'd like to take a peek at what we're doing, you can read the president's message, learn a little more about our events and whatnot. But again, thank you to the city of Paramount for giving us this opportunity to share what our current work is and the work that we will continue doing to, again, make sure that the children in our community feel welcomed and supported. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cuarenta. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to number 6. This is public hearing of the North Paramount Gateway Specific Plan Project.
Actually, Madam Mayor, we're on item number 5.
Sorry, another oral report.
No problem. Yes, Madam Mayor, our next item involves something we've been doing for a couple of years now. Due to the intricacies and all the variables involved with being homeless, we felt that it's, quite frankly, a disservice to use a ballpark number of homeless individuals as we see the county doing each year. Our philosophy is that if you really want to make an impact on homelessness and sincerely aid those who are in need, you really need to go deeper into this situation of each individual and gather more data to do things the right way. And that only can be done through a full canvas type of census. So our last homeless census was done back in May from the firm CityNet. And with us tonight is Mr. Matt Bates, Executive Vice President from CityNet, who will share with us the results from our latest homeless census. Hi, Matt.
Hi, thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We have I don't know if I'm in control of this. I am. Okay, so as was mentioned, I'm Matt Bates. I'm the Executive Vice President of CityNet. We conducted a full census in 2023, and we submitted a full report to city staff. So you have access to that full report. What I'm here to do tonight is just to talk over some of the highlights of the census as I saw them, and then also just to point out some of the things that I thought were interesting in the comparison between 2022 and 2023. Just a brief overview of our organization. We're a nonprofit organization founded in Long Beach in 2003. Our mission is to end homelessness through housing. We have a number of services in addition to these homeless censuses that we do, among them street outreach and engagement. In fact, we got into censuses in part because we were doing so much outreach and engagement. Cities and communities were very interested in having a better understanding of the homelessness that they were facing on the street level. We work in 40 plus cities and over 7 counties across the state, and partner with lots of agencies. So we're kind of, in a sense, we're full service, but our mission here was very narrow, which was to provide you a strong and robust and accurate data set on what unsheltered homelessness looks like here in the city of Paramount. We've done close to 50 of these projects, including, as was mentioned, right here in Paramount in 2022, and a number of surrounding communities to use. So we've part of what that allows us to do then is to look at the data across all 50 censuses, and some of these censuses, many of them are multiple cities, and so over time we see trends, and when things start to stand out, we can point those out for you because we've got the experience. The goal of a census, just to differentiate between some other types of activities such as the point-in-time count, is 1, to identify a baseline number, and then 2, to determine the demographics of the homeless population in Paramount. But the methodology that we use is what's called a survey-based count. So the goal is to survey every person that we encounter. We don't use any statistical sampling in this methodology, neither in 2022 nor in 2023. So the point-in-time count, which is a countywide project, HUD mandates specifically how that needs to be run, and it would be almost impossible for the County of Los Angeles to do a survey-based count because the count has to occur in the last 10 days of January. Los Angeles County being so big, both geographically and by population, it would be almost impossible, if not impossible, to survey every single person, or to even attempt to survey every single person. So they rely on a statistical sampling methodology where they interview some and they count some, and then there's a mathematical formula where they extrapolate out and they use a multiplier to come up with both the number, and the demographics. To be perfectly clear, HUD takes no issue with that methodology for the point-in-time counts. So it's not that one is bad and one is good. It's just that when you get to a smaller sample size, if you use statistical sampling, your accuracy gets lower and lower. It works best, in other words, to say it the other way, statistical sampling works best if you've got a very large sample size. And so what we attempted to do, and indeed did do here in the city, is a survey-based count where the goal is to count every single person and to interview every person that would agree to an interview. So from that, we believe that we can get a more accurate picture and a more accurate number of what you're facing. We did that in the early morning on May 23rd and the late evening on May 25th. The way that we did that is prior to the data collection events, we mapped the city in partnership with city staff and law enforcement to identify the areas of the city that we were most likely to encounter homeless neighbors. And then we covered all of those maps. The goal is to cover them all twice in each event, so twice in the morning and twice in the evening. So the highest density maps most likely would have been covered up to 4 times during the census. Because we're capturing identifiable information like first name, last name, date of birth, we can then deduplicate the data and make sure that we're not double counting. We also send the same teams to cover the same maps, and so they're more likely to recollect the homeless neighbors that they've talked to that appear within their map zones. So in 2023, one of the big headlines was that the total unsheltered count that we encountered was 47. 47 individuals. We used a smartphone application that dropped a geolocation for each person that we encountered. And so we created this map. We also created a heat map for the city so that you can see where the densities occur throughout the city. Every homeless neighbor is a unique case, and their story is valuable, and each one is an individual. But you can start to develop a composite over time. And here in Paramount, viewed as a composite of the highest frequency responses, the typical unsheltered homeless person is a Hispanic or identifies as a Hispanic or Latino male between the ages of 55 and 64, sleeps in Paramount, and is chronically homeless. Chronically homeless is a pretty detailed description or definition, a detailed definition set by HUD. Essentially means that someone's been homeless a long period of time and they've got some disabling condition. So these are people that are likely to be homeless a lot of the year. They're likely to have more barriers to leave the streets and enter into housing. In terms of the community ties, that's another thing that we're able to do within the census that maybe is not possible within a project like the point-in-time count, is that we can ask community-specific questions. And so we worked with the city staff ahead of time to come up with questions. There's a number of questions in the census about community ties. In other words, why are people homeless here in Paramount, and why not homeless somewhere else? Why here? If they lack a fixed permanent address, how else then could they be tied? So we look at where their last permanent address was. We look at where they initially became homeless, where they usually sleep, where they usually stay during the day, and where they attended school the last year that they attended school. And what we typically find is kind of what we found here, which is that the overwhelming majority of people, usually between 75 and 85%, they're homeless in the city where they feel at home. So they don't have a home necessarily, but they feel at home because either they work there, they went to school there, they have a job there, they had a job there, they feel tied and bound to that community. They feel safe there is another very common response. So that's one of the things that we looked at. Another highlight, in addition to the number, at least to me, and this stands out statistically when we look at the censuses that we normally deal with, is the high percentage of the number of people that are desiring resources. So the bar chart on the left, the light gray represents those that are already enrolled in case management services with a local agency. The light blue, the 75%, represents those that when asked were interested in speaking with a case manager about ending their homelessness. So that's 80% of the total were interested in case management. Typically what we see at that number, just for comparison, is closer to 60-65%. And so here in Paramount, that was higher. Same for shelters. The light blue, the question was, would you be interested in going to a shelter if one were available for you? And 65% of the people said yes. Whereas here in LA County, when we do these censuses, typically the number is 40%, something like that. So both of those being higher, one, it indicates a couple of things to us. One is that you've got a homeless population that's looking for solutions to end their experience of homelessness. Two, it generally indicates more of a trust between the individual and the city services and the county services, the public services that are meant to help them. When we go to communities and there's a lot of mistrust, then these numbers are much lower, is our operating theory. So again, doing this over 50 times with at this point, over 20,000 responses, the numbers are pretty standard, and these were two that really stood out to us as we reviewed the data because they were so much higher than what we would typically see across all counties, and particularly here in LA County. When you compare the 2022 and the 2023, this is probably the other headline from our perspective. The number went down, so you've got a decrease from 59 in 2022 to 47 in 2023. Again, what we normally would expect to see is the number to be a little bit the same or even higher. That's what most communities in Southern California are experiencing relative to homelessness, is that they're experiencing that despite their best efforts, it's either sort of maintaining or it's getting higher. And so if that number had been just a straight line straight across, from my perspective, I would say it was indicating that it would be indicative that you've got a strong system of care here that's working. But the fact that that's gone down while most other communities are going up, to me suggests that what you're doing here is working to connect people who are experiencing homelessness. And as the previous slide suggested, they're interested in ending their experience of homelessness. And you've got strong avenues to get them connected to services such that your overall number over a one-year period is going down. We also looked at we combined the 2 years data for this heat map, and this, to show you over the 2 years where we most likely were encountering homeless neighbors. You can see that to the west, there's that one, the darkest blue spot, and then where the darker the blue, the higher the concentration over the 2 years. So we just put that together based on the 2 years. We looked at duration of homelessness, and when I look at this one, I'm not so. What stands out to me isn't necessarily the change year over year. The gray number represents 2022. The blue number represents 2023. But it's just that if you look at the columns from like less than 1 year and 1 to 2 years, in 2023, you're looking at 37.5% of your homeless population when asked, they reported that they've been homeless less than 2 years. And again, that number, 37.5, sort of right around 40% is normally what we see, which means that in your efforts to end homelessness in the city, it's an ongoing proposition. So you could have a plan for the 47 that we found that were homeless and get them all off the streets. And what this data suggests is that in 2 years, you'd have another 40% of that total would be presenting themselves as newly homeless. And that's because people are falling into homelessness all the time. In addition to, as we mentioned, you've got a chronic population that's been homeless, in this case, a significant percentage, 11 to 20 years. Those are the people that have been homeless a long time. You recognize them, they're probably homeless 365 days out of the year. But this 1 to 2 year group, I just want to keep that at the front of your thinking, because as you're designing interventions, even as the data suggests that they're working well here in the city, you have to account for prevention and diversion for people to prevent them from falling into homelessness and diverting them from homelessness when something goes wrong financially for them. We looked at, again, this ties to Paramount. I want to skip forward to participation in multiple censuses. We created this Venn diagram to identify all the people that gave us their first name, last name, date of birth that we could compare from census to census. We found that there were just 11 that appeared in both censuses. And so our expectation is, what does that mean, is that some of those 33 on the left, they resolved their homelessness, they got connected to housing, or they were they're homeless kind of part of the year, and they were not homeless during the time of the census when we encountered them in 2023. And then what does that 30 mean? It's either they were housed in 2022 and they're newly homeless, or they were homeless in 2022 and just when we went out we didn't encounter them. So that again speaks to that point of like thinking of homelessness as a dynamic population within the city that changes over time. There are some static groups within that are homeless all the time, and that again would appear in, if we did a census in the future, they might appear again. But this is pretty consistent with what we see, which is that homeless populations as a whole are more dynamic than people typically think. Just put together some brief observations / recommendations. One is that investments in homeless services can yield results, and so thinking back 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was kind of an innovative thing for law enforcement to be focused on homelessness and to receive particular training on homelessness. Now that's much more common. Local street outreach and engagement is something that has increased over time. And then also, the COVID-19 pandemic was terrible, and while we would never wish that on anybody, there were opportunities to demonstrate how funding that was released because of the emergency for homeless populations was able to connect people to housing and get them off the streets. And there are people who are housed today and that were homeless before, and the reason that they're housed is because of the funds that were released from the COVID-19. So just as a general statement, the investments can yield results, and those seem like they're working here in Paramount from our perspective. We'd encourage you to seek out regional partnerships related to emergency shelter and permanent housing. So you've got a relatively small number here in the city, and so it may not make sense for you necessarily to have a shelter here. You may want to partner with cities regionally, or if you have a city, you might want to partner the other way, where they're looking to fund beds that they could partner with in your community. All services should be offered in English and Spanish. I suspect that they already are. But when we asked the question of what is your primary language, here in Paramount was we had the highest Spanish-speaking population, or the highest population that chose Spanish as their primary language than any community we've ever done, and it was much higher. So my suspicion again is that you're already well ahead of that, but we would just encourage that to continue because you've got a homeless population that is many of them are speaking Spanish as their primary language. And then just the long-term need there is housing. I'll just wrap it up by thanking the city staff, the Sheriff's Department, all those that kind of came with us and supported us, and then also to thank the dozens of homeless individuals themselves who participated. It's worth noting that this is all voluntary, so we can't compel anyone to speak with us. We offer them a small snack pack hygiene kit and typically a small gift card to fast food or Target or the 99-cent store, something like that, just as a thank you for those that participate. But ultimately, we got to acknowledge the homeless neighbors themselves who are giving their information, and their expectation is that that information can be leveraged to provide services and to tailor services that are going to help them. Because as I mentioned, there's a strong desire among that community to end their experience of homelessness. So with that, I'll wrap up my presentation and take any questions if you have them. And again, just focus you back to the full report. If there are, if you want to dive deep into the data, we published all of the answers to every single question with lots of charts and graphs in that full report that supplement what I talked about here today.
Thank you so much for that. Are there any questions or comments?
I have questions, but you go first this time.
No, yeah, I don't have a question. I actually have a comment, though. I just want to talk about the wording that you use, system of care. So you're saying that in 2022, we had about 59 homeless, and in 2023, we're running about 47. So I just want to say something about our city and our city resources and our system of care, that we have one of the robust systems of care around in the Southeast LA. And I just want the residents to know, at any time you want to understand our homeless program, because I know you sometimes you're driving down the street and you see a homeless and you're probably wondering, God, what is the city doing? There are so many resources that we provide. And again, I just want to share that. Maggie, and I'm sure, I'm not going to put you on the spot to talk about now, but I think that's something that we occasionally or maybe need to do more, of just educate the residents on what we're doing. Because again, I think we have a stellar system of care here. And if there's any residents ever have questions, please don't hesitate to contact each one of us, because I think we all know the program by heart and we can answer those questions. I just wanted to make that comment.
Place they report a homeless person at, do you know that by heart? There's somewhere they call or report it?
211?
Is that what it was? I thought it was something else that was specific to homelessness.
I think that's 211.
The telephone number where you can report homelessness, you mean the county-wide number? What is that? Is that 211?
That's the 211.
Yes, so we,
Yeah. Is it 211?
it would be 211.
Yeah.
We also have LA Hop, which is a mobile
Oh, LA Hop,
device.
yeah.
And then, of course, if it involves our Paramount community, please don't hesitate to contact the Paramount
Sure.
substation, and we'll make sure to make that direct contact as you're calling it
I
in.
thought there was a website or a
Yeah,
mobile app or
it's-
something you went and
I believe
reported.
it's LA Hop.
That's
Yeah,
it, right?
LA Hop.
LA
Mhm.
Hop.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I was thinking of. Is it just lahop.com? Is that what it is, or LA Hop? It's an app, or?
It's actually, if you log on to our website, we have a specific division, which is homeless outreach, and there is a hyperlink that will take you to www.lahop.com.
So it
The
is
website,
lahop.com,
yes.
and we have a hyperlink on our
Yes,
website.
on our website.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Absolutely.
I have two questions. First one, in your slides, maybe 4 or 5 back, there was a little legend at the bottom. I think it said N-3033 or something like
43
that.
and 40. There you
Right
go.
there.
Go
Go
back.
forward one. Right. What is that? N equals 43, N equals 40.
So that refers to the number of people that answered that particular question in each of the years. So the legend is messed up. There should be a blue square on there that says 2023, and so the N 43 would be for 2022, and the N 40 would be for 2023.
Okay,
that
so
means
that's survey participants, but it's not quite spelled
right
out
because not everybody answers every question.
right. True.
So we put the N on in the reporting, and you'll see that in the full report as well, to indicate how many people answered that particular question.
And in the survey that you did or the data that you accumulated, were you able to determine if there was any change in the demographics of the homeless from 22 to 23?
Yeah, we did this kind of bar chart comparison for all of the demographics, and that would be published in the full report. I didn't observe anything that sort of stood out to me as like radical change.
So my specific, because maybe I'm not asking the question properly, isn't it how many years, but like in 2022, were they 18 to 30-year-olds, or were they families? That's what I'm looking for. Like, did that change?
Right.
Or did it stay the same?
So most of those stayed more or less the same. I mean, there was changes, so they're not exactly the same, but what I observed as I looked through the demographic data, so first to answer your question, yes, we looked at every demographic question that we asked, so race, gender, ethnicity, age, language, and compared the 2 years with percentages and created a bar chart just like that would look like this for
So
each
if I looked
question.
at the full survey, I would see how
Yeah.
many males, how many females, how many families or children or anything like
Right.
that. It's all
And
spelled
normally
out.
what I would do is if I noticed a big change I would pull it out and put it in this presentation. And so just as my analysis of it, I didn't notice any major changes between year upon year in the demographics.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Bates, I'd like to thank you for the very informative presentation. I myself learned more about our Paramount homeless, and thank you. Thank you for your surveys. Thank you for explaining where the homeless are going now, and just very good presentation. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and I would reiterate what Councilmember Olmos said, which is that it's been a pleasure for us to work with the City of Paramount to conduct these censuses, but we've just been impressed, again, because we go to lots of different communities, and some of those communities, we're working in those communities, we're operating a shelter, we're running a housing program, but a lot of times we go into communities and we don't have any other contact other than the census, and so to see such progress and also just like, I really do want to reiterate, like it really did stand out to us, the degree to which there was a trust that had existed between people experiencing homelessness in the city and the city and county and nonprofit partners at this broader system of care that's intended to help them. If there's not trust there, and it can be easy for homeless neighbors to feel disappointed because this system's supposed to help me and they're not helping me and I'm suffering and I'm, but to have that degree of trust is very encouraging for us to see. And again, that's all, you all should be the broader community should feel very proud of that.
Thank you,
Thank you for-
Maggie.
for-
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you so much. And I mean, and you know, for public safety, I mean, you know, and the team that works on this, I mean, thank you. I mean, for all your work. I know you guys get calls from me all the time for different things, and I know it's taken care of. And I think we all call you guys at, you know, either really early or really late or on the weekends, and you guys always answer and call us back if you don't. So thank you for that. Okay, now we can move on to number 6. I was a little ahead of myself there. So next we do have a public hearing on the North Paramount Gateway specific plan. This is actually 4 items A through D. And John, may we please hear the report?
Yes, you may, Madam Mayor. You may remember that the City Council previewed this plan back in late 2021, and then the environmental impact report was completed earlier this year. We've done a tremendous amount of community outreach for this plan, I want to point out. We had workshops at the community center, pop-up events, online surveys, door knocks, and mailers, and we even added a community open house ahead of the public hearing tonight, which was held this past Saturday at the Paramount Park Community Center. Over this time, we've learned that several residents emailed us questions or joined in the Planning Commission public hearing in person and had a little misunderstanding about the plan. But once they heard the presentations and understood what it was, they almost all came away supportive of it, of the plan, or at least were satisfied with the specific plan once they heard more details. So keep in mind that this is a long-term plan with currently no planned projects in the works yet. The plan changes the land use in this area of town so that when a property owner wants to redevelop their property, they will be required to do it in a manner that better fits this mostly residential area of town. For instance, you'll see in the presentation that Mr. Carver is about to give to you that we're eliminating some manufacturing uses that we frankly believe just don't really belong there anymore. So if one of the property owners, for instance, wants to redevelop their property owner, they would not be able to bring back a manufacturing use. So again, this is just an example of the extent of the plan. The key takeaway that I want to push here is that we're not advocating for anyone being evicted from their property or anyone's property being taken away. Simply put, this is a very thoughtful plan that governs any future private property owner-driven development in this quarter of town, which we anticipate could be occurring over the next few decades. As the mayor said, there are several documents that we need your approval on tonight if you're okay with this moving forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to our planning director, Mr. John Carver, to handle the item. John?
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, just a reminder, we do have 2 speaker cards for this item.
All right. Thank you, John. Madam Mayor and council members. So, as John explained, this item is a request to approve the North Paramount Gateway specific plan, which combines the Clearwater North and Howe Orizaba specific plans into a single plan. The map indicates where the 2 plans are located and the boundaries of the new area. A specific plan is a regulatory tool to further a vision to create a sense of place to a particular area. It is a detailed roadmap for a neighborhood that becomes part of the municipal code and acts as the zoning and land use document for the area. The plan was originally reviewed by the Planning Commission and City Council in October of 2021. In that same month, the City Council awarded the contract to prepare the environmental impact report to EPD Solutions. The EIR is complete and is ready for council certification. During multiple pop-up events and a community workshop, we received community feedback about what should be included in the plan. We also conducted an online survey to receive feedback. Feedback included providing a mix of uses, addressing a lack of street parking, improving the safety and walkability of the area, providing open space, and providing affordable housing. In addition, as John mentioned, we did a community workshop this past Saturday. Project goals and principles include extending downtown Paramount, increasing residential uses without displacing existing residents, promoting mixed uses and focusing on urban design. Other plan goals include encouraging the use of active transportation and public transit, increasing recreational space, and promoting sustainability. The plan, as John mentioned, is a long-term plan that will take decades to fully implement. Development is completely voluntary, and property owners would need to make the decision to develop or redevelop their property. There is no eminent domain in the plan, and the city will not take any property. All future projects in the plan area will require city review, and each project will require a separate environmental review. Also, there are no current development proposals. Existing zoning for the plan area includes multiple family residential, general commercial, commercial manufacturing, and PDPS. You may recall that in 2016, since 2016, we've done numerous zone changes from industrial to commercial, where surrounding uses make industrial inappropriate. In the purple area, here I'll show you with the mouse up here, this is zoned commercial manufacturing, and this is on the east side of Paramount Boulevard, and it's really not appropriate with the surrounding residential around here. So here you can see this area is proposed to be, this is a commercial manufacturing area. It's proposed to be mixed-use commercial and high-density residential, which is much more appropriate given the surrounding residential here and across the street also. And there are 4 zones that are proposed for the specific plan. The first one is multiple family residential at a medium density of 30 dwelling units per acre. The second is multiple family residential at a high density of 40 dwelling units per acre. Then we have mixed use medium density residential at 30 units per acre. And then finally mixed use high density residential at 40 dwelling units per acre. Sustainability efforts will include landscape swales that will collect, filter, and convey stormwater runoff, landscaped rain gardens that allow stormwater to infiltrate through the soil, and curb extensions that promote traffic calming and slow and filter stormwater. Here are some examples of sustainability tools and an example of some pedestrian improvements. Implementation of the plan will include the attraction of focused mixed use and residential, the preservation and creation of a variety of housing types, investing in the public and civic infrastructure, and improving retail offerings and services. As you know, the land use element of the general plan serves as a long-term guide for development in Paramount. Approving the North Paramount Gateway specific plan requires a change to the land use designation of the general plan land use element. The environmental impact report is a document to help make decisions about the specific plan. The EIR assesses the environmental impacts of the proposed activities and also provides mitigation measures to reduce environmental impacts. The EIR looks at the impacts from full implementation of the plan, which again will take decades to complete. The EIR is also a very conservative analysis of environmental impacts. These are some of the areas that were evaluated in the environmental impact report. They include aesthetics, air quality, geology and soils, noise, public services and recreation. Even with the implementation of mitigation measures, there are unavoidable impacts in the areas of air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, and noise. Given that there could be unavoidable impacts, the City Council needs to adopt a statement of overriding considerations. The statement acknowledges that impacts have been mitigated to the maximum extent feasible, and that the specific plan clusters development around public transit, meeting state guidelines to reduce vehicle miles traveled. The statement also acknowledges that the specific plan will provide opportunities for affordable housing, encourage transit-oriented development, and will improve access to public transit. Also, the plan will provide a more balanced jobs to housing ratio that will improve the environment by reducing vehicle miles traveled. The statement of overriding considerations states that the plan provides for additional housing to support a forecasted increase in the economy and employment. And finally, the statement acknowledges that the plan allows for incentives that reward the development of affordable housing units. The EIR provides for mitigation to reduce air quality impacts and greenhouse gas emissions, and these are a list of some of those mitigation measures. Mitigation measures are also proposed related to noise impacts. Finally, the specific plan will update old plans from the 1980s, comply with state law and mandates from the Department of Housing and Community Development, implement housing element actions, preserves existing housing and avoids displacement, improves infrastructure, and focus change on blighted or underutilized properties with willing property owners. And it's recommended that you adopt resolution number 23028, 23029, and that you introduce ordinance 1173, and also introduce ordinance 1174, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Okay, so remind me where we do the public comments. I'm sorry.
We do them as part of the public hearing, Madam Mayor. So we have two, they don't specifically say if they are in favor or oppose. So what we can do is open the public hearing, and then we can just hear a testimony at that point.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and we'll go ahead and hear the testimony either in favor or opposed.
Great, Madam Mayor. Our first speaker is Mr. Ruben Soto. Señor Soto.
Gracias. Thank you. Bueno, quería decirles que es la segunda vez que vengo yo a aquí en el salón. La primera vez que vine fue para sacar permiso y sacar mi casa, hacer mi casa. Y cuando saqué el permiso aquí, yo no sabía cuánto duraban los carpinteros, quería platicar eso, para hacer una casa. Y cuando yo pedí permiso, me dijeron, les dije que 1 año. Y todos aquí en el 94 se rieron. ¿Ok? Y porque yo no sabía de los carpinteros qué tan rápido trabajaban. Pero después me di cuenta que lo hicieron muy rápido. Lo hicieron en 3 o 4 meses en mi casa. Y estaba preocupado por la razón de que si batallé para hacer mi casa y ahora si necesita terreno la ciudad y llega hasta la Highway Street y Arizaba, está en la otra esquina, y necesitan terreno, y pues se me haría muy duro que me la tumbaran. ¿Puede oír? No, por favor.
Hi, well, good evening. So this is the second time that I come here into this room. The first time I came here was to ask for a permit to build my home. So I came here to ask for a permit to build my home. And at that time, I didn't know how long it took for carpenters to build a home. So I asked for a permit. And what I was told, what everyone here laughed because I said that I needed a year. But I didn't know, how fast the carpenters were going to build it. And they ended up building it pretty fast. It took about 3 or 4 months to build a home, but I'm worried because it was pretty difficult to get my house built. And so now if the city needs land, I think you said Highway Street and Orizaba, it would be pretty difficult, and I really would not want my house to be tore down for that.
Thank you.
That's it. That's the whole comment.
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias a ustedes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Le vamos a hacer un comentario sobre lo que está su preocupación. En el plan no es posible que la ciudad entre y le quite su casa. Eso está, entonces es algo que muchas personas están confundidas por eso, pero en el plan si lo mira es algo que la ciudad no va a hacer eso.
And just to reiterate, if there is anybody in the audience to get the impression, I mentioned it during my introduction and Mr. Carver mentioned it during his presentation, this plan is not designed to take any property away. This has to be, if you redevelop your property, you decide to do it, and the zone is changed, it must conform with that particular use. So it's not a property takeaway whatsoever. So, Madam Mayor, we do have one more comment card. This item, Ms. Margarita Cioria from Dembo Street.
Hello, everyone. My name is Margarita Ciorda, and I received this letter, and it really concerned me because a lot of the information that you guys are discussing here, we never got it. So I don't know what kind of methods you guys use to let us know about everything that is happening. And in fact, I do have questions regarding this plan that you guys have in mind. So these questions are, first of all, the map is not clear. This letter is not intended for us. And I would like for you to use simple terms to explain it to us, how this project is going to impact our property shown in the map. I have a lot of questions, so can I go ahead and read them and then you guys can give us the answer so I don't run out of time? The other one is, I live just outside of this zone, and so how is the parking going to be regulated? As it is, we already have a parking issue in our neighborhood, and it seems like this project is gonna have a lot of parking issues. The other questions are, what's the plan for the unhoused people? It seems like this project will create more opportunities to attract unhoused individuals. And what's the fiscal impact on property taxes and value? And is this project using the same train track, or are they gonna come up with a new one? Also, is there a safety plan in place? Bringing this project here near our neighborhood is gonna bring a lot of crime, a lot of drug usage, and all these other things that we already have as it is. And as you discuss how residents have been updated about this project, there's a gap in actually getting info to the residents impacted in this project. And obviously, like I said, this is gonna be a big parking issue. And there's already a lot of apartments in this area. So what's going to happen in the areas with the homes? We tried getting permits before, and we had a lot of, what do you call those? We were not able to do it. They put us a lot of excuses for us not to get through this parking permit. But yet, one little block in our neighborhood has it. And I've been here with Ms. Olmos 2 years ago in 2019, with Ms. Olmos, with Ms. Peggy Lemons, with Ms. Stallings when she was in the committee, and nothing was done about this. So now it's gonna create a bigger problem in our neighborhood. So I wanna hear what you guys have for these questions.
Yes. Mayor? So I think the first thing to understand that can be confusing, and John, please interrupt me if I go the wrong way here. This isn't like a planned single development. This is, if you would say, this is our dream for when we develop this part of the city, how we would like to see it look and improve it. So any project that would come before us isn't this whole thing. You're looking at the whole thing as multi-year, like 10, 15, 20-year plan. One project would come to us at a time, would be the average. Like, oh, we want to build a commercial building here and put some senior housing on the top and then on the bottom. And then we would go to that neighborhood and we'd have meetings and we'd discuss it with them and we would look at the impact for that individual project. So looking at this whole thing like a big picture, this is all gonna come at once and it's gonna impact, which your questions are very reasonable. If that was gonna happen, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen with parking? What's gonna happen with housing? These developments. That's not what this means. It's very easy to construe it with that like that because of like what you said, you read in the letter. But this is like a 20-year dream plan is the way to look at it. But one project happens at a time, if it even happens. There's no guarantee that a developer will come in and want to do these things, or that you as a private homeowner would want to do anything different with your home than keep it as a single family home and stay where you're at. So those impacts that you're worried about come up one by one. If there's a proposal, we're saying, look at this. It's like other cities, when they start out, they're called planned communities. They looked at their whole open space land. They said, we're going to put housing here. We're going to put industrial here. We're going to put stores here. We didn't have that in Paramount. We just kind of sprung up as we did, housing here, industrial there, manufacturing. So we're planning a vision for that section of the city for the future, but it happens one project and one step at a time over multiple years. Does that help you understand? So what you're looking at, that immediate impact to your property with losing your home or parking problems or traffic or any of that, there's no project plan for your area right now. This is, if there ever is a project, we'd like to see it look like this. Planning for what's for the future so nothing just springs up. We're saying we don't want a bunch of industrial manufacturing companies over there. Instead, we want housing and commercial and development. We're making a plan for the future if we get the opportunity to do those developments. But there are no developments in the basket right now. Help?
I'm not sure. I hope I'm still living here in 20 years, so, I don't want this thing just push up on me,
It won't happen that way. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like one project at a time. When it gets proposed to us, somebody comes in and say, hey, this area of the city, we'd like to do this. We look at our plan. We go, yes, that fits within the plan that we want to do. Now we see, does it fit with the residents, with the neighborhood? How do we plan it out so it's the best possible project? Just like you've seen us discuss projects up here before that we're going to do, and we go through each individual step. How does it affect parking? How does it affect entries? All this. That would happen with each project that's proposed. But right now, there's not even a proposal. So it's just a dream that in the future, if this part of the city gets developed, we'd like it to look like this.
So being in favor of it tonight, what does it mean?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Being in favor of this project tonight, what does it mean? Or if it passes tonight?
It means that we're saying, in this section of the city, I'm just going to give you an example. If they propose to us, we're going to turn this all into manufacturers. We're going to have all these manufacturers. We would say, oh, no. We would vote, no, that's not what we want there. We don't want a bunch of manufacturing. But they're proposing to us, this is where it would be where you would have housing and you would have retail stores and you would have commercial, so that as this property gets developed, as turnover happens, this is what you want it to look like. Do you agree with that, City Council, or do you want it to look like something else? We're saying, what do we want the future of Paramount to look like? And so that's what it is. And hopefully those would be the things you would want. Nice houses, nice shopping centers, restaurants, commercial businesses that offer services. So you have a choice of making that dream. The state requires of us that you create a plan. The state says, create a plan for what you want your city to look like. And so we're saying we want to see these beautiful aesthetic shopping centers and homes and all of this kind of stuff. Or do you want this other thing? You have other options. So what is before us is, this is the plan. Are we in line with what you'd like to see, City Council? That's what it is.
Well, I would like to see that we, the residents, get the information correctly.
And as each project came up, you would. Like when something's going to affect your neighborhood, you would be contacted and said, this is what's proposed for your neighborhood. Come in to a city council meeting and tell us what you think about it. But there has to be a project first. There's no project right now.
Okay, because like I say, we don't get all the information. Like I did not know about this event at the Paramount Park on Saturday. And so just like you guys have this, what do you call it, to call us on the phone when you guys having fair, job fair, whatever other important events, you guys can do the same thing for us when you guys have coming up with the information like this.
What are the methods of outreach right now? So we had the meetings and we had at the events. So what else did we do?
We typically, for something like this, we want to localize it just for this area of town. So in this case, did we do door-to-door flyers on this one, John?
We did. Last week we sent out, hired a service to do door-to-door flyers about the community open house that we had on Saturday.
Okay,
we also did the multiple pop-up events over the last couple of years.
So let me ask you this. She just mentioned a very specific way that works for her, which is robocalls. Do we have the ability to target a portion?
Andrew, I'm gonna look to you. I don't think so. I think it's citywide.
Yeah, so robocalls, not robocalls, it's actually a reverse 911 system that we utilize for this purpose on occasion when we want to get messaging to the mass community. It can't geocode by specific neighborhood.
Yeah.
So what we might want to look into is that possibility, because I do know a circumstance with another entity. We can discuss it later, but they are able to do that, and they're within the city. So maybe it's a possibility. So to answer your question, like the robocall, we notify the people it affects. So you were in that affected area, and so when we do a robocall, the only way right now they're saying we have to do it is to notify the entire city, and they just want to notify the people it impacts. So they supposedly left a flyer on your door, and then they had the community events and the pop-ups. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't, but if you're like me and they left it on my door, it probably went in the trash, because I come home to like 20 of them and I pick them all up and throw them in the trash. So thank you for saying that the robocall works well for you. Is there anything else, another method like emails or text? Is there another way, if we can't work out a robocall, that you think is good for you as a community member to get information from us?
For me, I have email, but not everybody is on email or smartphones. So I have a few neighbors here that are with me. So let me see what worked for them, because like I said, not, a lot of us did not get all that information that you guys are discussing here.
You know, Madam
Because
Mayor,
we're always looking to improve that.
you know, I'm just saying, Margaret, we know that you're a voice of the community over there. You know, maybe we use you as our voice and make sure that you have those flyers in hands to help us. Because I said, I know you talk to the neighbors all the time. You have a great, communication with them. So maybe, if we're looking at that quiet neighbor, we could actually look to people that are in the community to help us get the word out.
Yeah, because we want you to get it. We're just looking for the best way. As you see, we tried 4 or 5 different ways to reach your area. But if there's another way, we'll certainly try to use it. But just be assured there's nothing on the table right now. There's no project on the table. If a project does come up on the table, it would be discussed and you'd be notified again, your area, about this project. Am I not correct?
Yes, you're
So
correct.
that you could come in and have input on it. So it's a multi-year dream for the future. That's
Okay.
the best.
And just so you know, that not everybody reads Paramount Journal if things are posted there only.
No, I don't think we're using
No, that's
that.
not the only thing. Madam Mayor, if I may too, Ms. Yoria, you had a comment about the train route. Can you
When this
ask that
project
question again?
moves forward, are they gonna use the same train track, or is it gonna?
Okay, I think you're referring to the Metro Light Rail project, which is an entirely different entity, different project from what we're looking at tonight. That's something that Metro is planning to build over the next 10 to 12 years from now. And that they're using the existing railroad corridor, from what we understand. That's the preliminary plans that we've been, but this has nothing to do with that project.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for the questions.
We did have another speaker card that during this part of the public testimony, Madam Mayor, Mr. Joseph Hernandez or Jimenez.
So I'm actually for, is this for the WSAB? The light rail?
No, again, this project has nothing to do with the light rail.
Oh, but it affects my area though, right? The Orizaba area?
It does if you, it could. Does the plan areas include Orizaba? Can you put a graphic back up, switch the map? And so we'll see whereabouts on Orizaba are you. Are you north of how, south of how?
I'm north of Rosecrans on Orizaba.
Okay, we'll bring the map up right now.
So this is totally different from the WSAB, which
Yes.
I was not familiar with, because I thought that was the WSAB plans.
Yeah, no, this is what the plan that we're talking about right now. We just have the railroad tracks on the graphic just to orient yourself with that. Now, are you on the west side of the street or the east side of the street on Orizaba?
East side.
East side.
Near
So
the
that's
red, the red area.
you're north of the red though, right? You're in a residential.
It's actually strange.
On the corner?
Yeah. I guess it's yellow.
If you're on the east side of the street, it's the land use designation is multi-family residential. John, can you go back to what it currently is? And you can see how it changed. So it currently is RM, so there's no change where you are. So do you see Orizaba between Rose and Rosecrans on the east side of the street?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think now, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it currently is. Now go forward, John. And that's what it will be, which is RM, which is the same. There's no change there, right, John?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So what is this plan for? Is it related to the WSAB in some way? No. It's just planning for the future.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. And what was the concern about the parking? Or
The concern that Ms. Cioria brought up, is that or?
yeah, if she's not in the zone, because I thought this is about the WSAB.
She was concerned that if we're going to put a development in there, that they already have parking issues. She doesn't want us adding to her parking issues.
Okay.
And so that's what I was trying to explain. There is no project right now. Should a project come up, then we would look at what that project is and talk about parking issues.
When is there going to be a public hearing for the WSAB?
Metro has had their different workshops throughout the past 2 years. We haven't heard of another one coming up, but we'll definitely get word out to all the residents as much as possible. Whenever they inform us they're having a workshop near Paramount, we always get word out. So if you follow us on social media, that's the best way to get to actually stay informed about that, so you can see.
Because I did attend years ago before the pandemic when there was a workshop on the other park. I forgot what the other park was.
Progress?
Not Progress, but the one on Downey Avenue.
That's Progress.
Oh, that's Progress?
Progress Park, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Progress Park. Yeah, so it's been a while. Since,
Yes, it has been a while.
Since I heard about the WSAB. All right, so then I'm not worried about this one then.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved. Second. Double.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Is there any questions or comments from council?
Can I just make a comment, Madam Mayor? I mean, there's a lot of residents here that still have a lot of questions. I mean, is there a possibility that we can get this forum together and maybe answer all their questions if maybe they missed something? Because I just think there's still a lot of concerned, right, unknowns. And I'd feel better if we just be able to have like a smaller meeting with these people because they came tonight to voice.
Yes.
Well, that's
If we have contact information from
we
the
can
sign-in book, maybe?
Sure, we can call them individually or reach out to them. If you have any questions, I can encourage you to contact staff, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. John King, if you could stand up and hand out if you have your business card with you, and
Yeah, if you can just raise your hand if you'd like
you have
this
more
business
questions.
card, and that way if you
Maybe it's
need
a good
more of a meeting, then we can arrange for that to happen.
Yeah, through staff. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, John.
Cualquier persona que tenga alguna pregunta del plan puede levantar su mano y el señor John King les va a dar su tarjeta para que se puedan comunicar con él. Gracias.
He walked out.
They're gonna get cards. They're gonna get cards.
Oh.
Okay. And so for each of these, we need an individual. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we are doing a resolution number 23028, the final environmental impact report. Is there a motion for this?
Which one is that, Madam Mayor? I'm sorry.
So we're ready for a motion,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
I
for
move
item
resol-
A. For item
Okay,
6A.
I move resolution number 23028, approving the certification of the final environmental impact report, approving the mitigation monitoring and the reporting program, and an adoption statement of overriding considerations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Okay, 6B, resolution number 23029, approving the general plan amendment number 22-2. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. All right. 6C, ordinance number 1173, approving zone change number 240. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. And item 6D, ordinance number 1174, approving zoning ordinance text amendment number 25. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Okay. Moving on to number 7. This is discussion on the American Rescue Plan, community funding priorities. Is there a report, John?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there is. We received close to $19 million from the federal government under ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. The council did carve out a portion of the funds when they approved the overall spending plan for community funding of projects. So we developed a process on gathering the info on for community priorities. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Andrew Villalpando, who will show you what the results are. Andrew?
Thank you, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Yes, so for your consideration tonight, this item is purely a discussion item. We are not necessarily asking for you to approve. However, we do encourage your input and feedback on this item, which we are bringing to you after about a year and a half of work put into it with a group of local stakeholders and focus group from a focus group in the community. So I'll just kind of jump right into the background here. The American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, was enacted in January 2021. Nationwide, the act provided $1.9 trillion in emergency relief to communities across the nation. ARPA funds represent one-time funding, therefore projects cannot carry on in perpetuity or create an ongoing financial obligation to the city. So a lot of the projects that we've recommended over the last year and a half, whether it be this particular pot of money or the other other ARPA funding, you'll notice is either one time or not in perpetuity. Other restrictions of the federal funding require that these funds cannot go toward employee benefits or pensions or pay for any financial reserves or rainy day funds. For the city of Paramount specifically, we were awarded just under $19 million in ARPA funds. These funds were required to be obligated by 2026. By 2024, but spent by 2026. When we brought the initial ARPA plan to you late last year, we allocated $1.5 million, which represented about 8% of our total of $19 million for community use. In doing this, the City Council at the time instructed staff to figure out a process to understand the community's appetite for what they wanted to use this particular $1.5 million for. So staff engaged with community stakeholders, as I mentioned, which I'll refer to as a focus group, to provide recommendations on how the money should be spent. A little bit more about the process. This is just an overview. I'll jump in a little bit deeper into each one of these steps. But the very first thing we did was we commissioned a community survey. Then we brought together a focus group to review the survey results. That focus group proposed services, programs, and projects based on those results. Upon those recommendations, staff returned with analysis to best guide the focus group and educate them on what it is they were recommending. The group then prioritized those recommendations, and the idea was to bring the report to the City Council, which is what we're doing this evening. So a little bit more on the very first step, which is Community Priority Survey. We commissioned it through Fairbank, Maslin, Mullen, Metz, and Associates, otherwise known as FM3. They're a very reputable survey firm that we've used in the past, and many communities use them here in the Southern California area. The survey was conducted from August 16th to 31st in 2022. We did this survey primarily online, but when we realized we didn't receive quite the response that we were hoping for, we also opened it up and did walkthroughs at special events We had staff with iPads readily available. In the end, we contacted about 15,000 residents. We had 166 respondents. We provided the survey both in English and Spanish. 89% of the responses were in English and 11 in Spanish. Overall, the survey results are displayed here in a chronological order from the highest priority to the lowest. You'll notice that education investment was the #1 priority that the community had indicated that they were most interested in. I have it asterisked here just because as I go through the focus group part of this component, the members of the focus group, they felt that in addition to all the city's educational efforts, from our PEP program to our Star After School program, they didn't want to focus any of the recommendations on education investment, as they felt the school district would best provide those areas. Speaking of the focus group, this was the focus group we assembled. You'll notice they're members of our city commissions. We attempted to obtain or gather a focus group representing at least one commission of all the commissions. We held our first meeting on May 24th, 2023. At this meeting, the focus group reviewed the survey results from the community survey. They determined which categories to focus on as priorities. Then from there, they proposed different programs and services based on those priorities. Staff went back to analyze these programs and returned with appropriate information at its second meeting on June 28th. The group reviewed the staff analysis and programs based on the group selected priorities, and then the focus group ranked those services and programs based on importance on a scale of 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. And what you're going to see in the next few slides is what they recommended for the City Council's consideration this evening. The next 3 slides will go over how the focus group, the actual programs and services recommended, as well as how they've ranked them. This first slide shows the highest ranked priorities of programs and services that the focus group has recommended, one being additional sheriff's deputies for overtime street racing task force, increased security camera system rebate programs for businesses. This is a commercial security program rebate, additional traffic deputies for to monitor and enforce traffic hazards on the weekends. This next slide shows a complete LED lighting retrofits at parks for pedestrian lighting. This would increase lighting in public areas. Next is the installation of a permanent traffic circle, 2 permanent traffic circles at neighborhood street locations. Then additional 6 license plate reader cameras, which are proven to alerting law enforcement to stolen vehicles, contributing to our public safety efforts. Annual health fair to include free health screenings, business spotlight videos to encourage small business assistance, and renovating 2 ball fields. All in all, 5 of the 9 recommendations are public and traffic safety related. 2 of the 9 are in the business assistance category, and then 1 being community health and 1 recreation. In total, as mentioned, it just exceeds $1.5 million, which is allocated as part of the ARPA plan. The additional $57,000 we'd be recommending that we allocate from remaining ARPA funds in the general fund. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and of course facilitate any discussions or input you might have.
Okay, questions or comments? This side.
Thank you for the recommendations and the work that you guys put into this. I'd like to make a recommendation that we table this item to allow us some time to get some more questions answered from staff about the recommendations, to talk about recommendations we may have, to get some information about the ARPA funds that have already been expended and those to be expended on projects. And I would personally like to see this take place in a special session where we can get to the meat of the subjects. My recommendation.
How does everyone else feel?
I agree with
Okay, Councilmember?
I agree. We need to
Yes.
have a discussion regarding this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you guys have some great priorities here, but I think with changing times, priorities also change. So I think, yeah, if we can have some conversation on what we think our priorities might be as well.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem. We will arrange for a special meeting of the City Council to discuss that. And as was indicated, we'll also show you the spending plan. I believe the last time we had a presentation on the overall ARPA spending plan was in the springtime. So it's time to bring it all back. So
So I'll make a motion to table the item.
Yes. Second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Lemmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to a report on the window bar removal rebate program. Can we please have the report, John?
Yes, Madam Mayor. During the FY 2023-2024 budget adoption we presented to the City Council, one of the items we present as part of the budget is a rebate program to encourage residents or to help residents that need help to remove their illegal window bars. So with that, we were instructed to put together a program parameters and bring that back for you to review, which we are doing tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Public Safety Director, Ms. Maggie Matson, who will handle the item. Maggie?
Thank you, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. As John mentioned, I will be presenting on the window bar removal rebate program. As a form of background, the Paramount Municipal Code and building standards prohibit residential and commercial properties from installing window bars. The primary reason for this is that window bars create fire and other hazards and undermine the aesthetic of the buildings. In 1998, when the prohibition on window bars was initially established, a survey was conducted and found that 1,566 properties had existing window bars installed. At that time, those specific properties were grandfathered in and were allowed to keep their window bars. Any new window bars installed after 1998 would need to be removed. Over the last 2 decades, Paramount has seen property values rise and crime rates decline, leading to a correlating decrease in demand and perceived necessity for these types of devices in our city. In May of this year, Public Safety conducted a follow-up assessment to gauge the current prevalence of window devices. The survey found that there are presently 626 properties with window bars installed, including 292 of the grandfathered properties from 1998. Of the new properties with window bars, 201 are residential and 133 are commercial. This represents a total decrease of over 60% from the initial 1998 assessment. While this is a substantial reduction in the overall number of properties with window bars, Public Safety is seeking additional ways to ensure compliance with the Paramount Municipal Code while reducing this number even further. One such way would be to offer a rebate to financially assist residents with the removal of the window bars. The intent behind the creation of the window bar removal rebate program is to offer a voluntary mechanism that allows residents to improve the aesthetic of their homes, increase curb appeal, enhance the general appearance of the city's neighborhoods, and contribute to Paramount's overall community pride. In an effort to incentivize voluntary compliance and help remove a financial obstacle that individuals face in the removal process, staff proposes to establish a window bar removal rebate program modeled after our successful home security rebate program. The program would operate under the following guidelines. It will be applicable to tenants or property owners of residential properties within Paramount city limits only. A one-time reimbursement of up to $2,000 will be available for eligible residents. The applicant is responsible for all costs incurred beyond this amount. The program will operate on a first-come, first-served basis until all annual allocated funds have been exhausted. There are no income restrictions. This is how the vast majority of our rebate programs are structured, such as the driveway expansion rebate program, air purifier rebate program, and the home security rebate program. Work costs must be directly related to the removal of pre-existing window bars that are visible from the public right-of-way and the repair to the immediate surface. Work must be invoiced work must be invoiced and completed by a licensed removal company and contractor. The applicant must submit documentation identifying the payment method and the amount, and the application must be submitted within 60 days of the completion of the work. This participation does not prevent the residents from participating in our other home security rebate programs or other rebates available from the city. As far as fiscal impact, the cost for the window bar rebate program is budgeted at $40,000. This budget allocation is funded through the city's general funds under the Community Preservation Division in this fiscal year, the 2024 adopted budget, and this would cover approximately 20 properties. Staff will assess the participation and the demand of the program and adjust the amount as needed. This is a receive and file report. However, if you have any questions regarding the program guidelines, I am more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you, Maggie. Any questions, comments? No. Okay, so that's receive and file. Let's go ahead and move on to number 9. This is the payment for Eco Rapid Transit, final membership dues for fiscal year 2023-24. John, the report, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll be handling this one. This is a request from Eco Rapid Transit to make a final payment of membership dues to this organization. And yes, I did say the final payment. This organization is heading in the direction of dissolution and is requesting that all existing members pay their final membership dues so that the association can pay off any bills and any outstanding invoices through to the end of December. For Paramount, this amounts to just under $14,000, and it would be paid for by using transit restricted funds. For 2 decades, as you know, we've belonged to the Eco Rapid Transit Authority. The main mission of this organization when it was created was to advocate for the construction of the transit line, and ERT did its job. The line, as you know, is in the final planning stages, and 10-year construction period is scheduled to start in the next couple of years. However, arrangements are now being made with the Gateway City Council of Governments to perform some of the duties that ERT formerly did through a formation of a committee under the Gateway COG, and this will be most likely be coming before the Gateway COG board in the next month or 2. So Councilmember Cuellar Stallings will be hearing about this as our board representative on the Gateway COG. Staff is in favor of this transition, and we are recommending paying our final dues to the Eco Rapid Transit JPA. And with that, the motion is to authorize the city manager to remit the city's final membership payment to Eco Rapid in the amount of $13,888 by August 31st and appropriate an additional $3,000 in Prop A restricted funds. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so before actually I ask for any questions or comments, so I sat on this board, and it was not an easy decision for the board, especially in particular a lot of the members that have been part of EcoRapid from the beginning. But really, after the discussion, it made sense that it had kind of run its course. It did what it was supposed to do, and it's time to kind of tie up loose ends. So that's where the decision came. Like I said, it was a lot of lengthy discussions about it. But again, it just seemed like this was the way to go. So if any of my colleagues have any questions or comments?
I'll move the item.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuellar Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Okay, we are now on the environmental sustainability portion of our meeting, and we have a public hearing for doing resolution number 23030, adopting a mitigated negative declaration for the Spanny Park Stormwater Capture Project. Can we please have a report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. John Carver, our planning director, will handle the item. John?
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor and council members. This item is a request to approve a mitigated negative declaration for the Spanny Park Stormwater Project. The project has been reviewed in accordance with California Environmental Quality Act. The document was prepared by Dudek, an environmental consulting firm. The mitigated negative declaration presents information to the public and the council related to any potential environmental impacts from the stormwater project. The stormwater capture and filtration facility would intercept stormwater and dry weather flow from a storm drain beneath Rosecrans and convey flows into an underground reservoir. The reservoir would be beneath the proposed soccer field at the park for infiltration into the groundwater basin. An overflow pipe would be installed to convey excess water from the reservoir during heavy storms when all the water is not able to infiltrate. The water would pass through a filtration system before discharging back into the existing storm drain channel. Additional improvements would include installing a soccer field, reconstructing the basketball courts and restroom building, reconfiguring the parking lot, and revitalizing the pond and stream feature. On the left is an area of Spanny Park, and on the right is the conceptual plan for the project. The environmental analysis found potential impacts in the areas of air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, and hazards and hazardous materials. Mitigation measures have been incorporated into the project to avoid any negative impacts to the environment. And it's recommended that you read by title only and adopt Resolution 23030, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there any testimony in favor?
No, Madam Mayor.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Any questions or comments?
I move we read by title only and adopt Resolution 23030.
Is there a second? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Okay, so we are actually now on our comments and committee reports.
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I can request that we recess to go into the special meeting of the successor agency and then come back to the council meeting for comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and recess, and we will go right into the special meeting for the successor agency for the Paramount Redevelopment Agency. Can I please get roll call, Heidi?
Councilmember Lemons?
Here.
Councilmember Olmos?
Here.
Councilmember Quer Stallings?
Here.
Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Present.
Mayor Aguayo?
Here. Okay, is there any public comments?
No, Madam Mayor,
Okay, and we do have an item under new business.
we do.
This is item number 1, the successor agency resolution 23002, approving the purchase of a reserve fund insurance policy. Can we please have a report?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. Recently, an opportunity had been presented to us that would allow us to capture funds from the bonds that we issued back in 2010, 13 years ago, under the former redevelopment agency. Though we maintain a cash reserve fund called a debt service reserve fund, we like to replace this fund with what's called a surety policy, and doing so would net us close to $1.3 million. The largest hurdle, however, is getting approval from the county successor agency. But first, we need the city's a successor agency, that's obviously you, to approve this. If this meets with everyone's approval, eligible uses of these funds could include economic development, infrastructure improvements, and/or affordable housing. So with that, I will turn it over to our finance director, Ms. Kim Sao, who will walk you through the item. Kim?
Thank you, John. Before I start, I just wanted to make a note that Present here with us tonight are two members of our financing and legal team, Julio Morales from Cosmot Financial Service, who is in the audience with us, and Juan Galvan from Jones Hall, who is listening in on the phone. They will be available should we have any questions for them. As a background, prior to the 2012 dissolution of the former redevelopment agency, the former agency would issue bonds to fund various improvements within the redevelopment agency. This table shows a list of the bonds that were issued for the former agency project area number 1 that are currently outstanding or recently matured. 2 of the bonds have matured, and as of August 2nd, 23, 2 bonds are left outstanding, the 1998 bond and the 2010 Series A bond. So on the far right column, it shows the reserve requirement for each bond. When each of the bonds were issued, a reserve account was required to be established in an amount equal to the reserve requirement for such bonds. The reserve account is intended to provide an additional source of funds to pay the debt service payment should revenues be insufficient. The reserve requirement for each bond can be satisfied with a reserve policy or a cash deposit into the reserve account in the amount of the reserve requirement. The total amount available under the reserve policy must equal to the amount that otherwise would be deposited into the reserve account. So as you can see on the table, in 2015, the successor agency purchased a surety bond, which is substantially the same as a reserve policy, to meet the reserve requirement for the 1998 bond. For the 2010 A bond, the former agency used a portion of the bond proceeds to make a cash deposit into the reserve account. So in this table, it shows $1,281,694, which is the reserve requirement for the 2010 A bond. And currently there is a cash balance of $1.7 million. After many discussions and research performed by our financial and legal team, we were presented with an opportunity that will benefit the successor agency. In accordance with the language in the trust indenture for the bonds, the successor agency has the right to substitute and release the bond proceeds in the reserve account upon the purchase of a reserve policy. So here, currently the balance in the reserve account is $1,717,900. 1.3 million of that, representing the reserve requirement for the 2010 bond, can be replaced with a reserve policy, and the remaining $436,000 will be retained by the bond trustee to pay future debt service. The purchase of a reserve policy to satisfy the reserve requirement is considered a common practice that is allowed in the bond documents. Therefore, staff recommends that the successor agency purchase a debt service reserve policy to satisfy the $1.3 million reserve requirement. The policy will be purchased from Build America Mutual, also known as BAM, for a cost of $30,000. Once we purchase the policy, the $1.3 million will be released to the successor agency for deposit into the redevelopment fund. This is where the benefit comes in. The successor agency will then be able to use the money, the $1.3 million, to aid in financing project area number 1 as required by the bond documents, such as for economic development, affordable housing, or other public improvement projects. The bond trustee of the 2010 A bond will agree to make a draw under the reserve policy issued by BAM to pay debt service on the 2010 bond in the event of a shortfall in the pledged revenues. The policy will be issued in the amount of approximately $1.3 million and will decrease over time as the reserve requirement for the 2010 bond decreases. The cost to carry through this transaction will be approximately $150,000. $98,000 will be paid for financial and legal consultation. $30,000 will be used to purchase the surety policy from BAM, and $20,000 is the estimated processing cost for the National Public Finance Guarantee Corporation, known as NPFG, to get the required consent from the bond insurer for the 1998 bonds. The cost will be funded from the bond proceeds that will be released from the reserve account. Our financing team feels confident that this process will be successful. However, all fees are contingent and will only be paid if the transactions are successful. To ensure that our transactions will be funded successfully, these steps must be taken and be completed. Approval by the successor agency board, which is why we're taking this item to the council tonight for approval. And we have also already confirmed with BAM, and they have agreed to issue the reserve policy. Second, it needs to be approved by the LA County Oversight Board, which is scheduled for September 29th of next month. And third, we need to get it approved by the Department of Finance, which will be notified to us 45 days later. And finally, it needs to have the consent of the NPFG. Tonight, staff asked that the successor agency approve the purchase of the debt service reserve policy from Build America Mutual and authorize staff to execute the documents related to the purchase of the reserve policy. So it is recommended that the successor agency for the Paramount Redevelopment Agency read by title only and adopt resolution number 23002. And this concludes my presentation, and we are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lemmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer Stallings? Vice Mayor Delgadillo?
Yes.
Mayor Aguayo?
Yes. Okay, we will now adjourn this successor agency meeting until September 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the council chamber, and we will our regular council meeting, and we're at committee reports, comments from council. Okay, I don't remember where I started last time. I think we're going to start over here with Councilmember Olmos.
I think you started with me last time.
Oh, well, then
I'm
let's
just kidding. It's a joke.
like, well, let's go the other way.
With me.
Oh, you started with Councilmember Lemon, so I think Annette wants to go first.
I remember.
I don't mind.
No, I'm
I'll
just
go
kidding.
first.
I'm playing with
Oh,
you.
you're playing? Okay.
I'm messing around. All right, Madam Mayor. Just a couple things. Again, kudos to all the departments for our back to school event. I think it was such a good event. It was fun. As you've seen the video, it was just a fun time. Thanks for all your work on that. The next Sunday, I attended Reverend Brady's celebration event at the New Commandment Mission Baptist Church. They kind of took it back old school, a lot of old soul with preachers and just a lot of singing and song. I mean, when I got there, I was really tired, but when I left, I felt like I wanted to go home and clean my house. I had like so much energy just from that, that service. So it was kind of cool. So congratulations to you. We just kind of thanked him for all his years in service and what he does for our community. I also attended the Kindred grand opening of the rehabilitation unit. So that is going to be such a great unit for people that suffer from strokes and just need rehabilitations. It's a brand new unit. If you have an opportunity, please go take a look at it. I think they've done such a good job. And then I think they want the full council to come over and do a tour of the facility as well. I attended Contract Cities event at the Arboretum. Congratulations to City Paramount. We got second place for our Night in Hollywood theme. Next year we're gonna get first. I promise you, it's gonna happen.
First.
But you guys did a really good job at decorating the table. The speaker was Sheriff Luna, of course, giving us updates on the depopulation. A lot of things that are going on with the sheriff department. And I think one thing that resonated with me was kind of like the mental health status of what's going on with LA County right now and how many suicides actually have happened during his time of being elected. I was just kind of, it's reality, right? And very shocking. So again, LA County sheriffs, my hats are off to you. And he also recommended that we don't take it for granted and we have to realize what you guys go through each day. And he was even telling people, do a ride along, go sit with them, see what they go through, So it's a very educational experience. My colleagues, if you haven't done it, I recommend that you take the time to do a ride along, I'm sorry. And I just want to say, we talked earlier about having such a great system of care. I think this weekend we had such a great system of communication when it came to the Hurricane Hillary. City staff, you guys had us up to date every minute of the day. I was away in Catalina, but I felt like I was here in Paramount, just getting all the information from you guys. It's like, I think I was gonna text you a question and you guys just sent it out. So you guys beat me to the punch. Kudos to that. And I'm glad that our city did not sustain any large situations or occurrences. So kudos to you guys. Communication was great and I really appreciate it. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Lemons?
I attended my monthly SIACA meeting and just want to bring to your attention, there are several programs that they're offering for fostering kittens, for adopting animals overall, and for some dog training. And it was my understanding Paramount is one of only 2 locations where they're offering the dog training. And so you can always go to their website, siaca.org, and look at the announcements and the flyers. But please know all of those services are available. I was also at the Back to School event. I thought it was amazing. I was especially impressed that we went from, I believe it was 3 hairdressers to 7. And I know that was one of our issues last year, the really long lines. So when I came in and I was counting, oh my gosh, there's 7 of them, so hopefully, that got everybody out there on time. And thank you to every one of those stylists who gave up one of their busiest days, which is a Saturday, to come and cut hair for the students. And I was also impressed with the polo shirts that we're giving out. I remember at the time we were discussing t-shirts, and to see that you guys were able to up it to polo shirts, I thought was great, so they could actually use them for school. So extremely exciting event. Thank you very much. I wasn't able to attend Pastor Grady Jones' event. I did send along some comments and was able to speak to him afterwards, but I too just want to say thank you, Pastor, for all of the commitment to our community and all of the wonderful things you've done, and for the outreach that New Commandment does. And you were certainly deserved of the celebration that happened on your behalf. And to join Council Member Olmos in saying, I had no questions about what was happening in Paramount with Hurricane Hillary before I could formulate the question. You gave me an answer. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Claire Stallings?
Okay, Mayor Aguayo and I attended the safety walk to school with a couple of our local deputies from the substation. They asked very, very good questions. It was very interesting, and to see a few of the parents also and grandparents involved. So thank you to the deputies and Steve for having this. It was very, very informative, and the kids had a great time. And also, I attended Pastor Grady's 43 years of ministry. It was a celebration of life. Not just life of his, but the life of ministry that he's done for our community. And like Councilmember almost mentioned, it was up and going. It was a revival, to be honest. And also, we attended, several of us, Dr. Timmons invited us to the City Council to attend Rotary Club meeting, and we were able to meet the district governor of the Rotary Club. And she also installed Dr. Timmons as the president of the Paramount Rotary Club. So congratulations, Dr. Timmons. I also attended the Contract Cities Association meeting in Arcadia. It was very informative, and we had a wonderful time and interacting. And also, like council member almost mentioned, Sheriff Luna was there to give us some information that things that are occurring with the deputy sheriffs in Southern California and LA County. Thank you, staff, for all you did for helping our residents during this storm, tropical storm. I thought it was going to be more active than it was, but praise God, it wasn't as active. But thank you, John, and all staff for all your information. I was getting questions left and right from my neighbors, but you know, you were right on top of it. Every question was answered. I was even getting questions about whether the school was going to be open, but that was even answered. So thank you, everyone, for all you do for our residents and our community. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor Delgadillo.
Why, sure, Madam Mayor. I was on vacation, and recently I was able to attend the Paramount Rotary Club meeting. The Paramount Rotary Club welcomed District Rotary Governor Makito Nakasone as the guest of honor. Madam Nakasone highly praised the Rotary for doing their goodwill in the world and serving our community with good faith. There was also the installation of club officers, and our very own Dr. Linda Timmons was sworn in as the Rotary president. And, you know, congratulations, Linda. And that concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I think every time I'm up here, I say we're busy. We're really busy. Because, we are. And I say, you know, we did the safety walk, and it was good to see kids, you know, little tiny ones with their parents. And, you know, and I keep thinking it's good that they start hearing these things when they're that little, so that it's in them when they're, you know, in 5th and 6th grade, and they know you cross at the crosswalk, you look both ways, and just, you know, things that maybe we kind of, they're just in us. So it was really, you know, that little tiny little boy that was there. I thought it was great. So we did that. The back to school event is actually one of my favorites. You see so many kids and parents out there, and just so many agencies that come out because they believe in what we're doing. So I think we said like it was 250 one year, and then we wanted 500. And I think every year we're pushing it. And, you know, we look over there, you know, because we keep telling her next year it's going to be bigger. It's going to be bigger. So thank you for that. The Pastor Grady Jones thing, it really was. I mean, you really had to be there. I don't know what we were expecting. I mean, really, we didn't know what to expect, and we walked in there, and I mean, yeah, there was. I mean, if you were sleepy, I mean, as soon as you walked in, you know, you were wide awake, wanting to clean the house, right, Brenda? You know, I was at the Contract Cities, the Rotary Club, and. Yeah, our rainy day, you know, our rainy day schedule. It was so just reassuring to see, you know, that staff really was on top of it, and our residents saw that, and they felt that they did have all the information that they needed. I had people saying, "Oh, so and so from a different city wanted to come and, you know, see, you know, about sandbags and this," and they were looking at what we were doing here to see if, you know, it could be replicated, you know, in their cities. So thank you for that. I don't think any of us up here get tired of just saying how amazing, you know, the directors and the assistant directors and the team, because every time I reach out to one of the directors to say thank you, everyone says, it's not me, you know, it's my team, it's the team. And that is what works. That we are a team. So thank you for that. That's all I have. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We really appreciate the support that you give us day to day. Yeah, we do the day to day, but without knowing that we have the support behind us, it would be harder to do our jobs. So thank you very much, each individually, for providing that support. And yes, thank you very much to the department heads, Adriana Figueroa, Maggie Matson, Andrew, communications-wise. They were just on it. And Sarah Ho had a sick kid at home. She was still, and she was sick herself, so she was still working. She was plugging away. So they are fully dedicated to serving this community. So thank you very much for the comments. It's well appreciated. On that note, little sad story. We one of our longtime staff members is leaving us, but understandably. So Wendy, can you wave your hand? Wendy Macias. Wendy's been in public works for 10 years, 12 years. How long, Wendy? About 9 years. But before that, she served in planning and finance and in recreation. She's also a former resident here, but she lives in Pasadena, and so she got a job with the city of Pasadena. So a promotional position. So we always like to see our staff do well, and if it's a promotional, move on. That's awesome for them. But very sad to see her go.
That's huge.
Yeah. Congratulations to you, Wendy. We're very sad to see you go. So, and that's it, Madam Mayor.
Well, congratulations, Wendy. And I actually did forget 2 things. Night Under the Hay Tree. Yes, Thursday. It's tie night. Come out 6 o'clock. Yeah, 6 o'clock. Come out to Night Under the Hay Tree. And then the Art Walk is September 1st, right? Art Walk, September 1st. I mean, just come on out. That's it. That's all I have. Good night. Our meeting is now adjourned to our next meeting, September 12th, 2023, 6 p.m. here in the council chamber. Have a good night, everyone.